Here we have our paragraph. And when I say paragraph, I'm talking about the paragraph argument. In the previous video, we discussed the premises, the facts, and we also discussed the conclusion. Now we have an actual paragraph in front of us. So let's find those facts, starting with certain infant playmats. Now obviously that's not a fact, but if you read on to the period, that is if you read the entire sentence, you will have premise number 1, that I will paraphrase as playmats contain. And now what do you notice about that word? Well, I think it's pronounced phthalate. Who knows? But it's a hard word, very difficult, and it's meant to make you stumble. And so what you want to do is simplify it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking these little notes. And at first, when you're starting off with these paragraph arguments, I encourage you to do the same thing, just to anchor you in. But just as we have training wheels on a bicycle, you want to be able to take off the wheels, so to speak, or no longer rely on this once it becomes second nature, and simply do this step in your head. For now, though, premise 1 is that playmats contain phthalate. Premise 2, or maybe fact 2, is phthalate is harmful to brain development in infants. Toxic to babies. Now, there is a conclusion. The conclusion is as follows. In order to remove the threat of PHT exposure, the government should demand that all imported playmats be subject to more rigorous controls. So, if all imported playmats have to undergo a very rigorous control to make sure that they don't have phthalate in it, then the government will remove the threat of phthalate exposure. So, rigorous checking. Let's check all these playmats, these imported playmats, to make sure they don't have phthalate. And if we can find all the imported playmats that have phthalate and send them back to phthalate land, then we will protect our infants and there will no longer be phthalate exposure. Okay. If you remember from the previous video, there was something called the gap or the hole, where there could be another explanation for something. Now, here we have X, and we have X causing Y. We have playmats, imported playmats, call them I playmats, that have phthalate in it, causing pain, or not pain, but rather causing brain development to go awry in infants. And so we can call that as brain damage, for lack of a better phrase. But you can see that, aha. Now, we have a problem here is there some hole here in the argument where even if we remove all imported playmats, somehow brain damage due to phthalates will still exist. That is, there is a Z cause. I drew the Z really big and scarily. A Z cause to Y. Now, this is a very important next step in the paragraph argument, and it is as follows. The question. Every single paragraph argument will have a question. The question here is, which of the following, if true, casts the most doubt? I'm going to underline that part because it's very important. This is what we call weaken. That is, this is meant to weaken the consumer advocate's position. The consumer advocate's position, again, is that if we get rid of phthalate-containing imported playmats, then infants will be safe from phthalate. Weaken that is to find the Z, that there's some other source of phthalate. What could it be? Let's start with A. A majority of playmats that are currently in use in the United States do not contain phthalate. Is that another source of phthalate? No, it's saying that many playmats do not contain phthalate, so we get rid of A. B. Phthalate can also cause reproductive harm to those expectant mothers who come in contact with it. You'll notice this is almost like a premise stating another fact, but it is not giving us a source. Where could it be coming from? Check out C. A range of children's toys is known to contain phthalate. It's not just imported playmats. Phthalates in other children's toys, a range of them. And such toys frequently enter the United States from abroad. So, Mr. Consumer Advocate, you could check every contaminated playmat and send it back, and children, babies, will still be at risk for phthalate contamination. Because why? Well, many children's toys contain phthalate. And that is our answer. Now, it's a good idea to go through the other ones always just to make sure. And let's do that with D. The rate of infant phthalate exposure is significantly lower in Europe than it is in the United States. We're going to learn in a future video about what wrong answers sound like and what they do, or in this case, they don't do. And here, this is stated again as a fact, and it doesn't relate to the argument, which is phthalate exposure in infants in the US. Here we have Europe, and so we would call this irrelevant, and I will get to that in another video. E, stricter sanctions on foreign manufactured playmats may compel some parents to find playmats that are manufactured domestically. Yeah, that could definitely happen. I would, as a parent, look for playmats manufactured domestically. However, is this an alternative cause to brain damage from phthalate? And the answer is no, it is not. Again, we found that already in answer choice C. So to walk you through this one more time, let's go back. And we can see here that with the consumer advocate, we have a paragraph. You should be able to take this apart using writing as so. And at that point, once you've used this shorthand, identified the premises, identified the conclusions, you should read the question. What you should not do is read this really quickly and then go straight down here to the answer choices. Read the question, which of the following if true, cast the most doubt, and then just rush into the answer choices because you are not thinking about the paragraph. You are not dissecting the paragraph. What you are doing is falling into this quagmire, this bog of quicksand of different answer choices that start to look like they could all work. Ooh, maybe this is the answer. That kind of works because you forget or you never even bothered to really take the paragraph apart to begin with. So always make sure, read the paragraph, dissect it, then read the question. And at that point, you know what you're looking for. As we knew that this was a weakened question, we knew that we had to look for something else, some other cause to call into question the consumer advocate's position.